All right, guys, this is about my fifth take. Let's be real, distance learning. I'm at a soccer field. You might hear that in the background. There's wind. You're not going to be able to see the pictures. But we all have to take deep breaths and go, this is the hand that 2020 dealt us. So, as I read the story, I want you to keep in mind that this was a banned book in our state. I want you to think about the themes that are going on in the book. I want you to think predator-prey. I want you to think environmental impact. I want you to think about how this book is still applicable to what's going on in the world today. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. And by the way, if I fumble a word, it's Dr. Seuss, it's rough, I'm going to keep going because it's 2020. Fourth take, we got this. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And if you look deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could before someone lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives there. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum at the top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of myth-muffled moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of his shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells of how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope he lets down a tin pail, and if you toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-grandfather snail, then he pulls up the pail and makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole, his gloviest glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by the Wistermaphone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Schlump. Down schlumps the Wistermaphone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he's had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long time back. Way back in the day when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the swan of the songy swans sang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the morning breeze. And under the trees I saw the brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of humming fish humming while swimming around. But those trees, those truffula trees! All my life I had been searching for trees such as these, the touch of their tufts which was softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. With great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took that soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. The instant I finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was a man. Describe him? I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a snodusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed to find something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers of bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. No one on earth would buy that fool thneed. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You can never tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts and I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Winneecum, sharp right at South Stitch. And at no time at all in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds just as busy as bees to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how did my business grow? Now chopping one tree at a time was just too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, on the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried as he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads of the thneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then once again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he snuffled and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cruffless croak. Onceler, you're making such smoggless smoke. My poor swanny swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who's got smog in his throat. And so, please pardon my cough, they cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go, I don't hopefully know. They may fly for a month or a year to escape the smog that you have smogged up around here. What's more, snapped the lander, Lorax, his dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on, day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup and sloppity-slop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your intention, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more trees into needs, which everyone needs. At that very moment, we heard a loud whack From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time my uncles and aunts, every one, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under smoke-smuggled stars. Now all that was left beneath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in a smog without leaving a trace. All the Lorax left in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all my heart. But now, said the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's gonna get better. It's not. All right, guys, I'm going to ask you to take a minute or two, process the story. Process the message. The thing about Dr. Seuss is all of his stories, though they were written for kids, had some kind of message behind it. So I want you to take a second, process that message, and in the box below, I want you to write why this was a banned book. So before the story started, you guys made a hypothesis. Now that you've read it, think about why this was a banned book in the states that it was banned in.